Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. I'm calling today seed day because we finally hit that time of the year where it's, technically the ideal time to start seed starting. And of course, we've been working hard on the greenhouse, so we should take advantage of it and seed start. But there are a couple of to-do items that I've still got to sort out. One of which is heat retention, because the greenhouse does great during the day, but it retains zero heat virtually at night. And so we've made some improvements. Obviously we need to make some more, and of course I'm gonna have to figure out a good way to heat it just a little bit. We're not really gonna get too many more really cold days, and as long as we can avoid any sort of frost in there, then we'll be fine, even if the temps get a little low. One of the things that we're gonna start with is actually trying to get some thermal mass in water barrels. So I bought these barrels a while back to try to make pig waters, and I've made 2 of them into pig waters, but these other 2 had a little bit harsher stuff in it, and I was a little bit skeptical about trying to sanitize and reuse those. So we're just going to put water in them to just hold water and hopefully retain some heat, which will let out at night. Now, some of the other things we're doing for heat retention in here is, 1, I've been working on sealing up some of the gaps. 2, of course, thermal mass. We're going to have that raised bed in there, which should help. And then we're also putting the water barrels in there for thermal mass. And then finally, the floor is going to be brick, and those bricks I can say have already started to make a difference. But of course we're not done laying the bricks, and I'm running kind of short on them, and I'm running short on time. So we're just going to make do, because that's kind of just what you do. They are in tight, and I don't really have the actual tool for doing this. There's one. For now, I'm just putting them under here because, frankly, I don't have a better place for them. Yep, they still smell like cleaner. And while that's filling up, we're gonna go start getting some of the seeds. Now, the first thing I need to actually do is, my dad and stepmom started 1 tray of seeds about 2 weeks ago, just about. And I'm gonna go ahead and get those moved back into the greenhouse. I put them inside because the greenhouse wasn't retaining heat, but we're gonna get those back out. And then, as I'm tracking in another video, is our fodder experiment. And so I've got 3 trays of fodder that I need to get out into the greenhouse because they're starting to sprout. But I'll give updates on that in the other video. But we'll get a little sneak peek. I'm working on getting all my supplies out to the greenhouse. I hadn't taken any of it out here yet. Start with some of my trays. Before I actually start seeding, I'm gonna throw out a suggestion or a recommendation, and I'm not at all affiliated, but for a while I thought about, I work in technology, and I thought, well, how can I help bring some sort of technology? And I kept thinking, like, well, there's got to be a better way than manually tracking, when is the good time to seed start. And another company very obviously beat me to the punch, and I'm happy about it because they've made, in my opinion, a really good product. And everybody else and their brother is talking about it right now, which is awesome, and that is Seed Time. So I did like everybody else and started tracking all of my seed starts and stuff on a spreadsheet. Last year I created a gridded out my garden plan, started doing the math on when the frost dates were and all that stuff. And they come up with the software that'll do it for you. And you can use most of the features that are in there completely free. So definitely recommend it. And with that, we're gonna start with what I'm scheduled to start this week is actually one of my tomato varieties. And I don't remember what the other thing was. It's tomatoes and something. And of course I missed the date for onions a while ago because, you know, they're really cold weather stuff and I just didn't have the chance to get to it. But between this week and next week, I'm due to plant a whole bunch of stuff. So seed start all kinds of flowers and tomatoes and peppers and several other things. So peppers might have been the other thing I was supposed to start today. I'm gonna go look because I can't remember. But either way, we're gonna go over all the seeds that we're getting ready to start and get everything set up, because within the next 3 weeks, I think everything we're gonna seed start needs to be started. And we might start some of it a little early, because why not? I'm impatient, like I think every other gardener. All right, I'm back and went and did a little more digging, and I realized what all I was supposed to get planted. So I was right, and it is my tomatoes and my peppers. I've got several different varieties of tomatoes. I think actually I'm only going to plant 2 this year, because last year I did Romas, but I don't think I'm going to do the Romas this year. I think I'm going to narrow that down. But anyways, let's get to it. We've got several leftover seeds from last year that we're going to go ahead and plant. We've got our beefsteak tomatoes. These we're going to definitely be starting today. Our bush beans from last year. These didn't do well last year, and I think that was my fault. So we're going to try them again this year. I'm going to direct sow the beans because I don't really want to try to transplant bush beans. Now we've got a lot of different flowers. One of the biggest issues, actually I would argue like the #1 issue that I had gardening last year, was the mosquitoes in this area were astronomically bad. And if you go back and watch any of the old videos from, you know, like spring and early summer and then late summer to early fall, it was like every video was getting eat up with mosquitoes, and these things look like big pterodactyls or something. So we're going to try to plant several different flowers for 2 things. One, to try to attract more positive insects into the garden, which will also in turn attract some birds, and hopefully we'll have some things that might attract some of the dragonflies. And my hope is a combination of those things will help not only curb the mosquitoes, but maybe also help curb some of the other nasty bugs like the squash bugs, which we got eat up by last year. Anyways, along those lines, we're gonna be planting some lavender. We've got just kind of a random wildflower mix. I'm gonna probably find a bed, you know, flower bed somewhere, or make one, plant those in. We've got some herbs. So we've got our oregano, our rosemary, and our cilantro. We don't do a whole lot of fresh herbs, but we've had oregano several times in the past and been very happy with that. And then of course our peppers that we're going to plant this year. I don't do a lot of hot stuff. My wife likes some hot stuff, but we don't eat a whole lot of peppers, so I'm not going to take up a lot of garden space with peppers this year. But bell peppers we eat a whole lot of. We like doing stir fries and, you know, things like that, and so we go through these a lot. And we'll even put them in salad every once. So we're planting those today, and then I've got several packs of pumpkins because we're going to, where the pigs are now, I'm going to till that area up probably in the next month or 2, and get it prepared to throw in a lot of pumpkins, so that hopefully we'll have some, you know, feed that we're growing here for the animals. Now something I do want to point out is we get seeds from wherever, but I decided to order some from MI Gardener. I've seen several people recommend them. Their prices are actually pretty fantastic, and you get, I think, a good value for it. And so we're going to see how they go this year, but all of our new packs of seeds we ordered from them. And then last year we had a tomato variety called Candyland Reds, and those were the only tomatoes. That was frankly one of the only things in the garden that just flourished, and they were very, very good. And I don't usually care a whole lot for the little cherry tomatoes, but those had a very sweet taste to them. And these are supposed to be very similar. So we're gonna try these. We're of course gonna do carrots again because we like carrots. I've got leftover snap peas from last year. There's not a whole lot, but I think there's enough in here. We used about half, so there's enough in here to do several plants, and we ate a lot of these last year before they got the white mildew stuff on them. So the rest of it's just miscellaneous stuff. We're gonna do some yellow squash. We do yellow squash every year. Some zucchini squash. Let's see, we've got a lot of butternut squash, some acorn squash, and we're also gonna potentially plant some lettuces as well. All right, so I know it was a little bit long-winded, but I wanted to give you guys kind of a sneak into what we're getting ready to plant for the year. But for today, these are the things we're gonna focus on first. And then some marigolds, which I haven't actually found the seeds for, so I either lost them or forgot to order them. But nonetheless, we're gonna plant marigolds. And I did save some seeds from last year's marigolds, which were the ones that got huge in those flower beds. And I didn't realize that variety got that big, so we're going to plant those. We're gonna try to replant some of the seeds we saved from last year. Admittedly, I didn't save them well. I just took the seed pods and stuck them on the shelf and garage. So we'll see how well they germinate. I'm not super optimistic, but it's not gonna cost me anything, so I'm gonna put them in the ground. So I've been sitting here getting my materials together and getting ready to kind of start mixing some potting soil and some water together so that I can start packing these, you know, trays and stuff. But something I found in my stash is these little peat pots. And now nobody's coming to me for gardening recommendations or suggestions, or at least you shouldn't be. Go find somebody more qualified. However, my personal experience is that these peat pots actually kind of suck. They're supposed to be, you know, biodegradable, and they're really more or less cardboard. And they did get soft, but I planted a few things in them last year, and you're supposed to be able to just put the whole pot in the ground. You know, maybe you could cut it or something to help it break apart, but what I found is that it never broke down fully, and I'd be willing to bet that even now, almost a full year after they've gone in the ground, that I can pull back this silage tarp and I'm betting they're still intact. So I'm gonna start some seeds in them potentially, but I'll actually pull it out of the pot before I put them in the ground, and at some point I'm just gonna get rid of these, but I don't want to spend money right now buying extra trays, so I'm going to use what I got. To wrap things up, I understand that watching somebody plant seeds is not overly interesting, and listening to somebody like me kind of ramble on for, oh, I don't know, probably 30 minutes at this point also isn't all that interesting. But I appreciate you guys humoring me, and if you enjoy, you know, some of the stuff I show, I appreciate you supporting us. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and continue working on putting seeds in the dirt, which is, like I said, maybe not the most interesting to watch, but I'm gonna enjoy myself because I just need a chance to, you know, just have some time to relax a little bit. So that's where we're at. But here coming up soon, we're gonna have a lot of what I think is interesting stuff, and maybe interesting to, you know, to film. We'll start doing some garden prep very soon, actually, probably in the next couple of weeks. We've got several things that we're gonna be doing with the animals. We've got to get the pigs kind of getting back out on pasture again as the weather's starting to warm up. And yeah, I mean, there's just kind of your typical homestead stuff. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully we'll bring you some more interesting stuff soon. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.